to that.
Thank you, Joey, and we're going to call the Board of Mayor and Alderman meeting for Tuesday, August the 22nd, 2023 to order. We're going to call the roll first. Vice Mayor Barnhill.
Present.
Alderman Blanton.
Here.
Alderman Hanson.
Here.
Alderman Peterson.
Here.
Alderman Berger.
Here.
Alderman Brown.
Present.
Alderman Potts.
Present.
Alderman Baggett, and the mayor is here also. If we'll stand now, I'll ask the Vice Mayor to offer an invocation, and then I'll lead the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
Would you bow, please? Heavenly Father, we come to you in prayer tonight, thanking you for the opportunity we have to meet. We know that there are many, many countries, many places where citizens are not allowed to meet and form ideas and kind of govern themselves. We thank you for these blessings. We thank you for this, for the first responders, the soldiers, and all the people who protect those blessings. We know that many times they are separated, families are separated. We know that it's very difficult at times. We also ask your blessings on each of us as aldermen when we make decisions. Give us spiritual wisdom and guidance. In Christ's name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next is an opportunity for citizen comments. Open for citizens to be heard on any issue or concern, including those related to items on the agenda. Please submit a speaker card at the beginning of the meeting, which many people have already done. As provided by law, the Board of Mayor and Aldermen shall make no decision or consideration of action of citizen comments for items not on the agenda, except to refer the matter to City Administrator for administrative consideration or to schedule the matter for board consideration at a later date. Those addressing the board are requested to come to the microphone and identify themselves by name and address for the official record. The mayor may restrict a period for public comment, including the length of public comment period, the number of individuals who may speak, and the length of each time each individual may speak. When time allows, the standard individual public comment time is 2 minutes, which it will be tonight. I have a number of speaker cards, and I'll call your name. And if you'll come to the podium, we'll start out with Lisa Alexander and follow that with Tony Sharp and Tom Bell and Donna Frick and Huntley Gordon.
Lisa Alexander, 160 Lancaster Drive. I'm here tonight representing the neighbors of the North Franklin Neighborhood Alliance, 200 families strong, who want to be engaged in helping to determine the future of our piece of Franklin, the stretch of Franklin Road from Mac Hatcher to the Harpeth Bridge. We will be engaged to ensure that nothing built in the factory district is never higher than Jamison Station. We also want to work with city leaders to change Franklin zoning notifications, both in the method and size of the area contacted, and to propose that every historical overlay should have a citizen from the neighborhood on its board. There's still good work to be done. But making changes to how we notify citizens of rezoning or getting neighborhood representation on boards, these are both bigger issues that will take thought and time. For tonight, as representatives of the association, simply, We want to offer ourselves to the members of this board as a conduit to our neighbors, a way to share news, pass along updates, and provide timely notice for upcoming meetings. With respect, we believe that by sharing information in this manner, we can create a way for our community to move forward and give our neighbors a voice. I hope you will consider partnering with us in this fashion as neighbors. And as neighbors, we will create a focused, organized approach to our participation in the growth, quality of life, and city planning for our Franklin home. Thank you.
Those names that I called out, if you just go ahead and line up, please. I've got Tony Sharp and Tom Bell and Donna Frick and Huntley Gordon that I've called so far.
He's going to speak later.
Okay, thank you.
I'll jump the line, if you don't mind. Thomas Bell, 177 Lancaster Drive. Seems like I'm here every week, probably way too much.
Hopefully not.
And to follow up what Lisa said, we're glad to have the opportunity to speak to you for the last several months regarding the Middle Eight. We hope that you've listened. We know you've listened because your actions have spoken louder than your words, and you got a very important vote tonight. And I think it's more important that it's an election year, and if some of the people don't agree with you, they can vote you out. But you got a difficult decision tonight, and there should be no hard feelings, and we should all coalesce around your decision and work together to have a development that works for everyone. And hopefully, the dream that the Truland has comes to be with no flooding, less traffic, and less height. So thank you for this education you've given us, and we're going to be here for you for years to come. Thank you very much.
Hi, Dana Frick. I wanted to say thank you for taking the time to revisit which urban growth boundaries properties are kept and released by Franklin. I appreciate you pausing and thinking about it. And as part of the Envision Franklin Managed Growth Goals, it says on page 15 that Franklin should coordinate with the other municipalities and the county to manage the quality and density of growth along the city and urban growth boundaries. The West Harpeth lands is going to still be up against the Franklin urban growth boundaries. So I trust that y'all aren't just gonna wash your hands of it, but you'll still keep an eye out. And Eric, you're part of the coordinating committee, that if there's a way to help limit them to the municipal growth area of 1 home per 1 acre to be consistent with those areas around it, it would be appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Huntley Gordon, 1940 Lewisburg Pike. And I was here before this body in March when we requested a denial for services on the West Harpeth property. And this body did grant that denial. This property under a previous owner was also denied sewer services in August of 2021. And there is no funded plan for city services for this property, as evidenced by your previous votes, nor is there anything other than a long-term annexation capability for the city of Franklin. So I am here tonight to ask this body to approve the staff recommendation and to remove this property from the Franklin UGB and to honor Thompson Station's inclusion of this property in their plan moving forward. Thank you.
Next group, I have Rachel Finch, Barry Beasley, Cindy Lamar, and then Daniel Horowitz.
I'm so short, I have to move the microphone all the way down. Good evening, Board of Mayor and Aldermen. My name is Rachel Finch, and I'm the Senior Director of Preservation and Education and Advocacy for the Heritage Foundation of Williamson County. Nearly 20 years ago, a very wise graduate school professor imparted insightful wisdom to me that I've applied throughout my career. He told me it's never about you, it's always what's best for the resource and how it serves the community. Throughout this entire process, many stated their thoughts on what is best for the Truett property. And what is remarkably apparent is many people care greatly and remain committed to preserving our treasured mosaic of what makes Franklin special. However, it's also raised questions and concerns over the fragility of our resources, with many advocating for renewed commitment and updated plans for how current and future density developments are proposed on historic landscapes. As a public historian and preservationist, I know firsthand the importance of how ongoing research, historic site surveys, and community-led advocacy can bring about the best attainable solution that's appropriate for the resource and the community, particularly when faced with a very large-scale development. Very recently, the Heritage Foundation secured the U.S. Court of Claims file for the Truett property from the National Archives. The story contained within the file is not singular, but rather a tapestry of all people connected to the land. While some of us want to dig deeper, some of us may not want to dig at all. But if I may say, archaeology, particularly at our city's Civil War battlefield parks and local historic sites, have taught us what lies beneath only enhances our knowledge of the past, broadens our collective conversation for how the resource may continue to serve the community in a new and positive way, and tells an inclusive and dynamic story for all of us to preserve for future generations. Thank you.
Good evening, I'm Barry Beasley, 3043 Old Hillsborough Road, serve as the president and CEO of the Heritage Foundation. In the first meeting with Middle Eight owners in October of 2022, the Heritage Foundation recommended GPR, an archaeological survey and preservation plan to inform future generations of the history. This is critical for a city that claims it is a preservation town. Despite comments by some, there is documented evidence of federal troops and African-American encampments in the area. Without a doubt, there are artifacts that can be discovered and then can be used to help interpret the Franklin Road area. We also still maintain that no building should be higher than 3 stories, in keeping with the guidelines and the character of the neighborhood. For 56 years, the Heritage Foundation has fought to preserve historic places in the history of Franklin and Williamson County. It is incomprehensible that I'm having to stand before the leaders of the city of Franklin pleading that best practices in historic preservation be applied to this project. Why do the guidelines, rules, and best practices not apply in this case?
Good evening. I'm Cindy Lamar, and I live at 1820 Townsend Boulevard here in Franklin. I want to thank the gentleman when he prayed for this evening, that he thanked God for one of our rights, and that is the right to assemble. And there are 4 other rights that we have under the First Amendment. When our forefathers finished the Constitution for our constitutional republic, it was so important. There were other things that they had to address, that they immediately did the amendments to the Constitution. And the first one was, the First Amendment was that freedom to assemble, to exercise religion, the freedom of the press, the right to petition government for redress of grievances, and the freedom of speech. And that's why I'm here to talk to you. I'm here on behalf of Gabrielle Hansen because I believe that her freedom of speech was dragged through the mud. And I believe it was for political purposes. And I believe it was from a committee that was assembled by the mayor right before she announced for mayor, and it was for political purposes. And all she did was her right, using her right of the freedom of speech to speak for some of us that are supporting her and what we think. And so that's what she was done, and I believe she was
not treated fairly. And I hope that you will keep this in your thoughts.
You're up, Mr. Horowitz.
Good evening. My name is Daniel Horowitz, 4016 West Lawn Drive. I'm here on My name is Daniel Horowitz, 4016 West Lawn Drive. I'm here on agenda item number 5. To ensure basic respect for due process and for the very ethics code that this body enacted over a decade ago, I am here to ask you to defer, as your counsel has recommended, your consideration of agenda item number 5 until Alderman Hansen's right to judicial review is complete. I also want to take a moment to note that it is bizarre that we are even here on this agenda item today at all. Under the ethics code that this body enacted, the Ethics Commission decision that brought us here is not final. Instead, it is subject to ongoing judicial review, which is guaranteed to Alderman Hansen as a matter of right. Your counsel knows this, the Ethics Commission's counsel knows this, but for reasons that are curious, the Ethics Commission's counsel approached this body prematurely before finality 2 weeks ago to present a censure recommendation. That is unusual. It is also well outside the normal course that is contemplated by the city's ethics code. And when government starts doing bizarre things like this that are so far out of the ordinary, it gives rise to reasonable concerns that there are ulterior motives in play. Now, I hope that that is not true. For your sake, I also worry about how it will look if this body censures Alderman Hansen prematurely, only to see the Ethics Commission decision that brought us here reversed just a few months from now. As a result, you should not put the cart before the horse. It would offend due process to do so. There is also no urgency to act now as opposed to when judicial review is complete, other than that some people, as is their right, want to harm Alderman Hansen's campaign for mayor. Now, I respect their right to pursue that, but this body is expected to act fairly and to respect basic due process guarantees that every citizen has a right to expect. So for those reasons, I ask this body to defer its consideration of agenda item number 5 until Alderman Hansen has been afforded a right to judicial review. Thank you.
Thank you. That's the end of the public comments. We'll see if there's any communications or miscellaneous reports. Mr. Stuckey?
Mr. Mayor, I have just one quick addition to your calendar in terms of board meetings. We have scheduled a special work session on our capital investment program as we look to update that infrastructure plan for next Wednesday. That's August 30th at 5 p.m. in this room. And we expect that to be probably about an hour and a half work session, one of several that we'll probably do over the next couple months as we look at capital projects and get your feedback and look at the options that are available to us. So that is this coming Wednesday, a week from Wednesday, on the 30th at 5 o'clock in the boardroom.
Are there any other miscellaneous reports or recognitions? Sir, the public comment period is closed. You can come to the podium. You have 2 minutes. I don't know what you want to talk about, so you'll have to say, but you'll know the process next time. So I will make an exception this time. But
Thank you.
not again.
My apologies for that when they were in the basket and I got conditioned to do that. I'm Andrew Keenan at 1539 West Harpeth Road. Please forgive me, I'm losing my voice. I'm going to try my best to talk where you can hear me. I do thank you guys for taking the time to consider our pleas and our urges to please keep us within the Franklin Growth Boundary District or in rural Williamson County. We urge you guys to help us stand up against Thompson Station, Spring Hill that are coming in further and further north, further and further east and west, taking over parts of the county, building high density of developments far out of the rural character of the area and the county. The other issue becoming of this is that constituents in the city of Franklin are faced with the problems arising from this development. You have crowded schools, terrible traffic, other growth issues, along with a promise of sewer that may not even come to fruition in the next few years of Thompson Station. If we release this property from the urban growth boundary and let Thompson Station come in, look at the track record, it will clearly show that they continually have come in, changed zoning, built very high density developments, not in at all with the look of the area, the 1 home per acre that we have currently, or even less dense areas in the farmland. We understand growth is inevitable. We understand this is a sought-after area. There's probably a reason everybody in this room lives here. We love being here. The problem is when you come in and change what brings people to the area, bring in problems with traffic, crowded schools, crime, and some of the other issues that make this area so desirable, you start losing the desirability you have right now that makes us one of the 10 to 15 fastest growing counties in the United States of America. I urge you guys to please reconsider, please keep the areas in the Franklin urban growth boundary, and please help us stand up against Thompson Station and Spring Hill as they come in and try to take over the rural and beautiful landscape of the area with the very dense development out of character and out of the desires of the people of this county and city. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll now look at the approval of minutes for August the 8th, 2023, 5 p.m. work session and the 7 p.m. Board of Mayor and Alderman meeting. I'd entertain a motion.
Move for
Thank you,
approval.
Alderman Berger. Is there a second?
Second.
Second, Alderman Brown. Any discussion, additions or corrections? Let's vote. Vice Mayor?
Yes.
Alderman Blanton?
Yes.
Alderman Hanson?
Yes.
Alderman Peterson?
Yes.
Alderman Berger?
Yes.
Alderman Brown?
Yes.
Alderman Potts?
Yes.
Alderman Baggett?
Yes.
Passes unanimously. We'll now go to the consent agenda, and all items under the consent agenda are deemed to be non-controversial and routine in nature by the governing body that will be approved as recommended by committee or staff. By one motion of the governing body, the items on the consent agenda will not be discussed. Any member of the governing body desiring to discuss an item on the consent agenda may request that it be removed from the consent agenda and be placed on the regular agenda. Tonight, we're considering items number 10 through 13. Thank you. Appropriate motion, seconded by Alderman Potts. Any discussion? Ready to vote? Vice Mayor?
Yes.
Alderman Blanton.
Yes.
Alderman Hanson.
Yes.
Alderman Peterson.
Yes.
Alderman Berger.
Yes.
Alderman Brown.
Yes.
Alderman Potts.
Yes.
And Alderman Baggett.
Yes.
Passes unanimously. Item number 3, this is consideration of Resolution 2023-44, resolution to recommend changes to the Williamson County Growth Plan to Williamson County Coordinating Committee. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second? There is no public hearing, but if you're wanting to speak to those items, but I would like to get a second.
Second.
Appropriate second. Okay, go ahead, Andrew, and address this body.
I do have some slides prepared that may add some reference, and I'm happy to go through those, and I'm happy to not. So, okay,
Helpful.
great. So as you can see on this map, the blue is the Franklin urban growth boundary, and the tannish light colors, the Thompson Station city limits, and then the dark tan is the Thompson Station UGB. So just as a point of reference, these are the yes, these are the boundaries that are in place today. So hopefully that clears things up. And then I also included some references for places that were mentioned in the public hearing and that maybe you have seen in emails. So the Keystone subdivision lies to the north, and then the A1 Home Builders is kind of the big rectangular parcel, and then the Laurel Hill subdivision, and then last at the public hearing, there are several residents from the Indian Meadows subdivision, so you can see where that is and what UGB lies in. And then Tollgate Village at the bottom. There were also questions about the sewer basin, so I wanted to include a sewer basin reference map. So the subject parcels are along the southwest 2 and southwest 3 boundaries along the fringe of the UGB, so you can see where they are. They're in white. And then this is also the basin plan that was adopted several years ago now. And the purple lines would be interceptors, which future development would drain into those purple lines, which would drain to those red pump stations, the little red squares. And then what's not shown on the map would be the high pressure lines flowing from the pump stations back to interceptors in the city limits, basically. So everything would flow to these little red pump stations, and then there'd need to be a separate line that's constructed back towards the city to connect to our existing system. The parcels in red have been denied sewer. The A1 site, the larger parcel We call that like the Snowbird Hollow property, but that one's been denied. And then the small parcel, the little pie-shaped one, is the church. So just a quick refresher, UGB timeline. At the April 12th, 2022 meeting, several property owners who had unique circumstances approached the board and described their situations. They requested to be removed from the UGB. Then at the June 14th meeting, 2022, the staff presented some options that responded to those property owner requests, including the removal of the A1 home builder parcels, as well as the South Point subdivision, and then the 2 rectangular parcels that are north of South Point to be removed. No objections were raised. Sewer denial availability request, the timeline for these subject parcels. It was actually denied initially on August 10th, 2021. And then again in February of this year, a different property owner of the same parcels basically came forward, and it went to work session, and then ultimately it made it to the March 28th work session, and then it was voted upon in the evening meeting on March 28th, passed unanimously. So all of that to say, the staff and the FMPC recommendation is to continue as planned with the current proposal, which includes removal of the A1 properties, the South Point subdivision, and the 2 county parcels due north of South Point subdivision. We did want to point out that the board could make a request to the coordinating committee to leave the A1 properties in the county and not include in Thompson Station's UGB, and direct the City of Franklin's representatives to take that position. However, the City of Thompson Station, or the Town of Thompson Station, has passed a resolution that does include these in their proposed UGB. Staff further recommends the coordinating committee be the appropriate governing body and forum for settling the dispute between the A1 home builders and the nearby county residents of whether the property should be included in Thompson Station or remain in the county. And then just a reminder, representatives from the City of Franklin, Thompson Station, and the county all serve on this committee.
Can you repeat just what you said a little louder? I'm sorry, I didn't get all of that last paragraph.
Yes, ma'am. The coordinating committee is made up of representatives from the City of Franklin, Thompson Station, as well as the county. They all serve on the coordinating committee. And this is just a refresher on the state law requirements of an urban growth boundary. And then I will close with the anticipated schedule. The coordinating committee will meet next week on the 29th at 9 a.m. in the morning. And the purpose of that meeting will be for all the jurisdictions to present their draft, or at that point, they're not really draft, to present their proposals to the coordinating committee. Each jurisdiction will have 10 minutes to present that. So that's the purpose of that meeting next week. And then in September, the coordinating committee will meet again. And then 2 public hearings will be held. October timeframe, the coordinating committee to make final adjustments and officially vote and approve its recommended growth plan. And then in November, December, and this is important to note, the City of Franklin, along with all of the other jurisdictions and the county, must ratify the growth plan. So if one municipality does not vote in favor of it, then it all fails. So everybody has a veto, essentially. And then after, assuming all of the jurisdictions approve the growth plan, or ratify it rather, it would then go to the Local Government Planning Advisory Committee for approval. Thanks, Mr. Mayor.
Does the motion that has been made adequately cover what you described, that the members of the coordinating committee from the City of Franklin would encourage the county to take those properties rather than Thompson Station? Or does that need to be included as an addendum?
You would need to specify that to us. This action alone moves forward the urban growth boundary updates that have been talked about for some time. So it just directs that we submit that into the process. If you want your representatives to talk further about how the property removed from our growth boundary might be assigned, I think that would be helpful direction if you want to provide that. But this in and of itself does not say you're going to ask your representatives on the coordinating committee to advocate that, say that be put in the county controlled area of the UGB.
And those.
So that would be an additional direction that
And
you could
those
provide.
citizens that are affected should be speaking to the county representatives and Thompson Station representatives?
Yes, sir, and I believe they have been as well.
Okay, good.
And the public hearings that Andrew talked about are also an opportunity to engage and talk about why that's important to them as well.
Mr. Mayor?
Alderman Berger.
Is it, Shauna, would the proper motion be then that if this case, if we wanted to remove those, or if we wanted to keep those properties in the UGB, would it be proper for us to make an amendment at this time? And then if that amendment passed, it would be sent to the coordinating committee for their purview? Is that correct?
Tonight's the night to do that, if that's what you want to do.
And that would require an amendment?
That would, because right now, the resolution says to recommend approval to the Williamson County Coordinating Committee, the map that's attached as Exhibit
Right.
1.
All right, I'm going to make a motion to amend that motion to keep those properties as set on the map. Do you want to identify those?
Alderman Berger, would it be more clear if you made a motion to maintain the urban growth boundary
Yes,
as it is?
Yes, I could do that.
In that area.
I could do that.
Yes,
So my motion.
in this specific
Right.
area. yes.
No, let's be clear.
West
My
West Harpeth.
my amendment then would be to maintain the urban growth boundary in this particular area, to keep it in the Franklin urban growth boundary of these particular properties. Thus, sending it to the coordinating committee as that.
Second. Appropriate amendment and appropriate second. Do you want to address that?
Yes.
Particularly,
Yes, I do.
since you made the amendment? Jim?
Yes. We've had a lot of people come and talk to us about this, and so I'm really concerned. And it is right there on the edge of our UGB. I mean, it is our UGB. So they don't want to be removed from the UGB, and we've had numerous people come and speak to that. Does it necessarily mean that we have to annex them in and provide sewer? No. They could certainly stay in our UGB and build or develop in the county, at the county standards, 1 per acre in that area. And I think that's what they're asking. So I'm supporting this tonight because I think maybe this is actually the right thing to do at this point. And the coordinating committee would have to then discuss that. So at least gives us a vote to send to the coordinating committee for further discussion by the committee. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Alderman Barnhill, you want to speak to the amendment?
Yeah. Well, I'm not sure it's the amendment or not. What happens?
Yeah, it is an amendment.
What happens? Okay, I understand you made one, and I understand there's a second. What happens when it gets to the coordinating committee and you decide that you don't want to abide by the amended motion of tonight? Do you, I mean, when we discussed this the last time, I thought there were some legal obligations that we needed to meet. And the fact that we had no plans whatsoever to provide sewer for this area, we'd already denied sewer to 2 or 3 other pieces of property. I thought that we were talking about or discussing what we were wanting to do, but we weren't going to do anything to maintain the fact that it's in the urban growth boundaries.
You have a fundamental challenge in that you've already denied sewer.
Right.
And by definition, when you're including it in your urban growth boundary, you're saying you want to serve it or you believe that you can serve it in the 20-year time frame. So unraveling a sewer denial, to me, seems difficult at this stage. I think there are some ramifications about how you may be impacting that property and the plans the owner might have for that property. So I would suggest, and what Andrew recommended, is that using the process to address that is better than you trying to backtrack on what the city has already said, which is we can't serve it, or we're going to deny sewer service to it. It's not realistic for us to serve, and how you've dealt with other requests from other similarly positioned property owners. Shauna may be able to speak to it too. I just think you have, I think you've gone pretty far down the line, and you've made some commitments about what you're serving and what you're not serving, that it's pretty difficult to try to unravel that or backtrack from that now and say, oh, we do want to serve it now, even though we've already denied the most fundamental element of sewer service. So, Shauna, I don't know, from a legal standpoint. Go ahead. Well, we're answering Alderman Barnhill.
So, yeah, Eric did a good job of explaining kind of where you are now. I will say that there are some case law and some issues that you do need to consider. There is a concept called inverse condemnation or takings, where you have in a sense limited someone's use of their property, sort of by telling them you may do something later, but you're not going to do it now, and they're very limited in what they can do with their property. I would just kind of consider that. If you want me to draft some information on inverse condemnations or takings, I'm happy to do that. But, kind of be thinking about that in the back of your mind as you're thinking through this.
If we're making the decision tonight, the day's the 22nd, and this goes before the committee on the 29th, I'm not sure that suggestion or whatever draft is going to help us any.
It may not.
What I asked the other night was if we're not purposely trying to hold captive the property, and it's not the people there that are not wanting or not wanting. The property owners asked to be removed from the urban growth boundary. You've got South Hall Farms that's been removed. You've got Gentry Farms that's been removed. You've got some other places that have been removed. The purpose for removing it and leaving it in the urban growth boundary means to me that we're saying we're going to furnish a sewer in 20 years. That's what we've got, and we've already turned sewer down on 2 or 3 other pieces of property in that area. And we've turned sewer down in other areas too, and we've turned sewer down in this, if some of that information is correct, in 2021. So I don't want to. I hardly ever admit that I'm confused, but I am concerned that what we're doing is not. It's probably not legal, is it?
Well, I would also say that if this is the motion that you make tonight, and if the coordinating committee agrees with you, you're probably going to get another request for sewer service. And you're going to have to just to make that call.
So further clarification on this point, Mr. Mayor? All right. We are not denying them development rights over there at all. We do this every day of the week sometimes when people come to the CIC meetings, and then we bring it to the board, and we deny sewer, so they go ahead and build in the county. They can certainly build in the county. We're not preventing them from building. We're not holding them hostage. So I just want that clarified. So we need to know that is available to them.
And I will say we haven't opened the UGB concept or a coordinating committee in
over 20 years.
Yeah, over 20 years. So this is the time for you to really think through, can you serve the property within the UGB within the next 20 years?
And we have a lot of properties that we do not, and we will not be able to. And there are properties in our UGB that may never be served in the 20 years. And a lot of these people, who, if they want to develop it, have come to us. We have denied sewer so they can go to the county and develop in the county and keep that more of a rural area, because they're either 1 per 5 acres or 1 per 1 acre over there in the county. And so a lot of these people are asking for more rural setup in those areas. And that gives them that option if they're in our UGB. If we continue to keep them in our UGB, just putting that out there for consideration.
Where
whatever
that's different is in those other situations, you're responding to the request of the property owner, and then they're acting based on what you've done or not done. In this case, you've done one thing with the property owner, now you're talking about doing something different relative to the growth boundary.
Is it all property owners?
The difference though on this,
Is it-
I'm sorry.
Is it all the property owners?
Well,
Just
everybody in the area in question.
The difference on this though is that it was done, we were told one thing on the deniability, on the denial. The timing is such that now it's opening up, I mean, it's not what based on the information when we denied it. I mean, they were gonna go to what, it's on the other slide, 168 homes or, I mean, so we kind of like, we're looking at that with the same context, and then this process is opened up, and it kind of opens up kind of Pandora's box. I mean, I like the bullet point, and how long is a sewer denial good for? Is it permanent?
It's pretty much permanent.
Because we did multiple.
That's one of the questions I had is, can you?
Yeah, because we did it twice.
Reverse the denial. You
Yeah, but we've
really
done it
can't. We don't have any precedent
But
that that has happened.
we've done it twice
Unless
on
they
the
come
same property in the last
Because you had different
18
property
months.
owners. Yeah.
So if a property owner changes, then you have to do it again?
I'm not sure why they.
Sorry, I don't want to get into
Yeah.
weeds, but.
I'm not sure.
I can't speak for them, except for they came through your process, requested the denial, and you granted it.
How do we get, the next slide, I think. So how do we get this, which this isn't really our,
Right.
how do we get the last, no, one point, the last bullet point, which is, should be taken up by the county and, in this coordinating committee. That is the appropriate body to decide.
That seems to be the best
Yeah.
platform to do this, because it respects the broader process.
So how do we do that without, I feel like leaving it in, it's going to happen, that is going to take place.
Correct.
The conversation will still take place. You will achieve the last bullet point if we leave it in.
I don't know that that's true.
No? Oh, yeah, that's a question.
Then we have done something, now we have created a conflict between the parties as opposed to advocating for a solution. You've put us in a position where we have to advocate to keep it in as opposed to look for a solution with maybe putting it in the county, which would deliver what I think some of the residents are asking for, which is a lower density, et cetera, which could be on the table. If you're putting it in ours, then we're saying we want to be able to serve it.
Yep, so if we
Which
put
is
a-
counter to what your previous direction
Sure.
has been.
So if if this motion were to be withdrawn and we added an amendment that said, based on the last two sewer deniabilities and the representations made, which were 68 homes and 100 homes, and the belief that the board understood that this is the trajectory that the property was going, and why we made those sewer deniabilities, that we suggest, we ask that the coordinating committee, I'm saying something wrong, Emily's walking up.
Keep going.
But that trajectory, okay, so, sorry, I got just, but that if we did that, then that would send the message that, hey, we made those deniabilities based on a representation that this was gonna be lower density
Yeah.
development, and here we are
Right.
at this inopportune time where this
Very well
coordinating
said.
committee is going on, and now it's opened up.
I
more
think
than we would've
that
done.
makes a lot of sense in terms of justifying a different outcome than maybe what had been envisioned and whose UGB it goes into. And, I mean, you're hearing citizen feedback, folks that are in your existing UGB or others that are speaking up saying,
No.
we have some discomfort with where this may be headed. So you're both pairing what your understanding is of where the property was going, the path of development that it was going on, and your denial, and what you've heard from the public. I think that's plugging into the process. I think that makes a lot of sense in terms of plugging in the process than to try to backtrack on other
defend the
decisions.
deniability.
Yeah, and trying to back
So-
out of a
so
denial that you've done
legally-
twice already.
So legally,
And I'll let
Is that
Emily
better?
maybe fill in too.
Emily, I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor, but
Sure.
I want to, what Patrick said makes a lot of sense. So we want to get some input.
Well, to me,
Got
what I
Alderman
came,
Peterson, let Alderman Peterson speak, and then we'll go back.
We are saying then that everything in our UGB, we would be expected to
Ann, I
serve
can't
with
hear you.
sewer. Okay. We are saying now that everything in our UGB, we would be expected to serve with sewer within 20 years. Is that the case for every city in Williamson County's UGB?
Yes.
Are every one of them saying that they're going to serve their UGB with sewer and with sewer? Is that the only thing that has to do?
The drafting of these UGB boundaries, the state law guidance is that there is a 20-year horizon in which city services should be provided to properties within the proposed UGBs.
Okay.
And that applies to every municipality in the county.
Now listen to this though. But does every one of those cities provide sewer to everybody in their city? I don't think so. When you
cannot
say
answer
city services, that could also mean police,
It does.
fire, whatever.
It does.
Inclusive of.
It's
Yeah,
Sure.
it's the whole
That's
whole
right.
suite
But
of.
I'm just
But
asking,
Many of these do provide sewer
but,
through themselves or another utility district.
It's a guideline.
okay, you're saying that is
It's not
the service that is required in the next 20 years.
I think
It's part of
one
it.
of the main points I'd just like you to consider is that based on the sewer denial and some of the conversations I've been hearing, is that you are in agreement with the denial of sewer, but you would like it to potentially develop in the county. Well, there is a route where you could give your representatives guidance to make the case that this should remain in the county based on what we've heard at these public hearings and based on what your determination was with the denial of sewer availability and how you came to that decision. And your representatives can advocate for that, as well as these citizens should be able to come and speak at those coordinating committee public hearings and make their case there as well. If you leave this in the Franklin UGB, it is sending a message that we can serve the property, not that we're preparing to let it develop in the county. And that's the message that I'm most concerned about.
Alderman Berger, speak to your
Question on that. So that is what the state says, 20 years. But it's not a hard and fast law that we are held to. It is a guideline, and it is.
It does say that urban growth boundaries of a municipality shall. And it goes
Well-
through these requirements that are shown on the screen.
Well, we're falling back in that all over the state then. The shall is not happening, I will tell you, because I know for a fact, I serve at the governor's invitation at the Local Government Planning Advisory Committee, and I serve on that committee. And I'll tell you all day long, that doesn't happen around the whole state. So, anyway, but if you'd like, I will withdraw my motion. Let me go ahead and withdraw my motion, see if we can get a second. All right,
Okay.
in light of Patrick's opportunity to rephrase that.
Shall I rephrase it? You shall.
rephrase your, now, this is an amendment, correct?
This is an amendment, and I think the public should know why we're doing this. Seems like a lot of back and forth, but I think this is responding to the citizens who wish to have a more rural development in that area, and us deciding on the next 20 years of Franklin. I make a motion to amend.
Hold on before you go too far.
Yes, Jesse?
Thank you, sir. Mayor, as I initially made the motion and Patrick seconded so that we could have discussion, do I need to withdraw my?
No,
motion?
he can amend your motion.
Perfect. Just want to make sure you don't have to repeat everything.
No, thank you. I don't need to do that. Motion to amend the motion that this board would advise the representatives of the city of Franklin to, on our behalf, make the case that this is going to be a long motion, guys, I apologize, to make the case that the the sewer denials that occurred, that led to the logic behind the two denials was based on the applications, and this board feels that this, although it is outside of the city of Franklin's urban growth boundary, we want our representatives to advocate for it to be developed in the county.
I'll second that.
Yes.
If you did mean referring it to the coordinating committee.
Yes,
correct?
and refer to the
Because you
coordinating
mentioned city.
committee.
It's
I hate to
coordinating
ask you to repeat that. Could I paraphrase it?
I couldn't do it.
That you would advise the representatives of the advisory committee from the city of Franklin to the Urban Growth Plan Committee to advocate for these properties to be developed in the county rather than in Thompson Station. Is that-
Mayor, one quick
To
thing,
stay-
coordinating committee, you used the term
Coordinating.
advisory,
Yeah.
it's
I'm sorry,
coordinating.
coordinating
committee.
committee.
To stay in the UGB.
Is that
correct?
an adequate restatement of what you
stay?
said?
Perfect. Thank you.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Alderman Potts. So any discussion now on the new amendment to the motion? Are
Yeah.
you ready to vote on the
I had a
amendment?
question.
Okay,
You said
question.
county, to stay in the county. It's actually going to stay in the UGB. Is that
No.
correct? Just
Develop
stay in
stay
the
in the
county?
county.
Develop in the
Yep.
county.
Did development.
County.
It would not be in our UGB, it would be,
Just,
it
is that what
would
you meant?
remain in
Okay.
the county.
I just wanted to
period.
clarify that. Thank you.
Ready to vote? Vice Mayor?
Yes.
Alderman Blanton?
Yes.
Alderman Hanson?
Yes.
Alderman Peterson?
Yes.
Alderman Berger?
Yes.
Alderman Brown?
Yes.
Alderman Potts?
Yes.
And Alderman Baggett?
Yes.
Passes unanimously. Now we'll go back to the motion as amended. Any discussion on the motion as amended? Are you ready to vote? Vice Mayor?
Yes.
Alderman Blanton?
Yes.
Alderman Hanson?
Yes.
Alderman Peterson?
Yes.
Alderman Berger?
Yes.
Alderman Brown?
Yes.
Alderman Potts?
Yes.
Alderman Baggett?
Yes.
Passes unanimously. We'll now go to item number 4, which is rezoning of 7.2 acres, ordinance 2023-15 from residential R4 to Plan PD 38.19 per 3,000 district for the property located east of Franklin Road and south of Liberty Pike, located at 209 Old Liberty Pike, Middle East, Middle 8 PUD subdivision. Is there a motion?
Move for approval.
Appropriate motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Alderman Hanson.
So I was quiet the last time, but I think it's important why everyone knows that I vote no on this. Even though this development is obviously visually so exciting, aesthetically lovely, it would go anywhere, it would look absolutely magnificent. It's pretty irresistible to look at the pictures. But when you think about the location, I haven't heard anybody consider the neighbors, what they're going to live through, the fragility of their historic homes that once the blasting starts, who knows, with masonry walls, fragile wood, delicate trim, what's going to happen to these homes? This is probably the largest asset these people have. Many of them have been there for years and years. And yes, things change. We progress, we grow. But I think this is far too dense. What happens to the people who move in towards the end when there's only 0.87 parking spaces per unit? Do they just get disincentivized to park? Is it going to be an issue? Do they park in the neighbor's yard? I am concerned because the flood zone does back up to the very edge of this property, and I've had so many clients' homes flood that have never flooded in other areas before. And I know that stormwater is far more technologically advanced than it has been, but I also know we've got 2 creeks that back up there, and we've got a downward slope, and I'm concerned about the flooding. I'm really concerned about the lack of interest in doing a historical archaeological scan or dig prior to construction. I would just think that's part of the process for the Truland development. I would think that would be something as an historic homeowner that would just be natural for them to want to do that. I'm sure there's been a lot of wonder, as Toby said, he sat on his back porch and looked at his land, what might actually be underneath that soil, even if it's just one button or one little piece of glass from someone's china years and years ago. I would think that would be an automatic, but I'm just not sure that that's going to happen, and it's concerning to me. The height is
is still a concern. I would love to see it there, just not as dense as it is. And sadly, this is going to end up being the most expensive per square foot property in this community once it's built, because of the way commercial lending works and the way rent prices get set. And I hope that moving forward, that all the people that got here last time and spoke in favor and excitement for affordable housing will show up here in the future and be the cheerleaders for affordable developments, because we've never had that before. And if they're excited about this opportunity, they should really get excited about the possibility to own a more affordable home in the city of Franklin and not just rent it. So I just wanted to speak to that so everyone was clear why my answer was no.
Thank you. Any other comments? Alderman Berger.
I would just say that some of those points should have been spoken during the development plan. This is about zoning tonight.
Any other comments? Ready to vote? Vice Mayor Barnhill.
Yes.
Alderman Blanton.
Yes.
Alderman Hanson.
No.
Alderman Peterson.
No.
Alderman Berger.
Yes.
Alderman Brown.
Yes.
Alderman Potts.
Yes.
Alderman Baggett.
Yes.
Passes 6-2. Item number 7. I'm sorry. 5. Consideration potential resolution for the Ethics Commission findings and recommendation regarding Alderman Gabrielle Hanson. Is there a motion? Or do we need an update from our city attorney?
I think it'd be good if you'd like.
Sure. I do want to kind of walk you through some of the facts so you know, because most of you probably don't. You're not part of the Ethics Commission and you might not have been following this. But as you know, on July 27th, and this was brought before you at the last meeting, the Ethics Commission heard from 4 of the 7 complainants who filed the ethics complaints against Gabrielle Hanson. After the hearing from the complainants and counsel and holding a public hearing, they did find that Gabrielle Hanson violated 2 sections of the ethics code, and then they recommended to you that you censure her. And that's what you heard at the last work session. Then on August 14th, the Ethics Commission met to formally adopt the findings of fact and conclusions of law. You did not see those at your last meeting because they didn't exist yet. At that meeting, counsel, Alderman Hanson wasn't present, but counsel for Alderman Hanson, and you've seen him tonight, Mr. Horwitz, said that he did intend to file an appeal. And shortly after that meeting, he did file what's called a writ of cert. And most of you probably don't know what that is, but a writ of cert is a legal action taken by a person who is aggrieved by a final order or judgment of a board or commission, and it's filed in Chancery Court. So that's been filed. We are required to submit the transcript to the Chancery Court, and at that point, filings start happening. The court today heard heard 2 matters and heard this case this morning. The court set the trial for November 30th at 1:30. So just kind of keep that in mind. November 30th at 1:30 for the writ of cert. Then on August 17th, Alderman Hanson filed a complaint against each member of the Ethics Commission in their official capacity as an Ethics Commission, and then the Ethics Commission itself, asking that the court enter into an injunction to allow her to send 5 letters to various agencies. If you're interested in seeing that, I can provide that to you. That temporary restraining order and temporary injunction was also heard today. The judge denied the request for the temporary restraining order and injunction, but set the matter for hearing on September 22nd. So we have 2 cases kind of happening at the same time. So 2 different dates, 2 different tracks. The Ethics Commission is represented by Special Counsel Gail Ashworth, and you met with her last week, or 2 weeks ago. Again, the Board of Mayor and Aldermen is not a party to either of those suits, and you have not been sued. The staff, myself and Eric, do recommend deferral. You can decide if you want to defer until September 22nd and see what happened at that hearing, or you can defer until November. It's really your call. I would also like to say that as part of the denial, the judge today did suggest that one avenue about the 5 letters is to ask for an advisory opinion of the Ethics Commission, and that request was filed earlier today. Any questions about that? I know it's kind of complicated with 2 different things.
Explain the 5 letters. Yeah.
There are 5 letters that Alderman Hanson would like to send out on behalf of nonprofits asking for either funding or grant opportunities. The nonprofits are the Franklin Housing Authority, Community Housing Partnership, Habitat for Humanity, Hard Bargain, Kingdom Clinics, Mercy Community Healthcare, The Refuge, Build Her a Bridge, Finding Balance, and Open Path Collective. And she's asking to send 5 letters to 5 different agencies on their behalf.
Why?
And would like an advisory opinion on whether she can do that.
And how
From
do those-
the Ethics Commission.
From her personally, or her position, or from the city? I don't understand.
As alderman.
Are we allowed to do that?
Well, the Ethics Commission will look into that.
how does it tie to with the Ethics Commission's findings? This is brand new, these
Yes,
new
this is brand
letters? What is the legal
what's the
reason
tie?
for that?
I believe I can't speak to that. I do not know. I assume that when the Ethics Commission meets and discusses the advisory opinion question, that can be a question asked of Alderman Hanson. But I don't know.
Are you ready for a motion?
So I do have a question though, and follow up, I apologize. Is that not how we got to where we are right now though? I don't know, and I'm asking without us digging in and putting ourselves in a hole, but isn't a letter one of the ethics complaints that was filed, but the request from legal counsel or from Alderman Hanson is, I want to send more letters? Is,
Yes.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
Let's make a motion that we defer item number 5, consideration of potential resolution to the Ethics Committee, and that date be set for the second Tuesday in November. That gets us through the 22nd, but before the November the 30th meeting for the committee. So my motion is to defer until the second Tuesday in November.
Which is November 14th. There's appropriate motion. Is there a second? I see no second. The motion dies. Is there any other?
I'll make a
motions?
motion that we defer to September 26 at our board work session and our board voting session on September 26.
Appropriate motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Appropriate second. Discussion of deferral to 9/22. I'm not, sorry, 9/26, 2023.
Is
that right?
Yes.
Go ahead, Alderman Brown.
Mayor, I just need to state that I will be recusing myself on this vote and any future vote. As a board member of the organization that would have been a recipient of Alderman Hanson's demand for money out of BNA, I feel it's prudent for me to do that, as well as the fact that I wrote the response back to BNA, primary author of the response back to BNA for the organization. It also goes out saying that that day that communication happened pretty much destroyed my work day, and the day after, taking calls from all the parties. I feel like I was pretty much thrust right into the middle of that whole situation. I think best for everyone that I recused myself and abstained from voting on this matter.
So noted. Any other comments? Ready to vote?
Is there a question about why we wouldn't wait until after the November 30th?
Because
That motion failed. because it
No,
failed with
I
a
thought-
second.
that
So
was
the
September.
motion currently under
No.
consideration is
It was November.
deferral to September 26th.
My motion is the 26th. And it's been seconded.
So I thought.
Because I think- Mayor.
I thought the original, the motion that didn't
It
receive a
failed.
second.
It failed.
Was not after November the 30th, was it?
It was November 12th.
It was November 12th.
Well, I'm sorry, I misspoke. It was November 12th. It failed because there was no second, Alderman Peterson. And then this motion has had to defer to September 26th, has had a second. And that's what we're under discussion. Are we ready to vote?
Just to confirm, Mr. Mayor, Shauna, and I was trying to capture some notes. What you shared with us is, I know that you said November 30th at 1 o'clock was the writ cert. What is the hearing set for September 22 for public's knowledge?
What's the matter? It's the request. It's the lawsuit filed against each of the ethics commissioners in their capacity. So they're named in the lawsuit, plus the ethics commission for. It's in part about the letters and also the constitutionality of the language that was used in the letter and the ethics ordinances itself.
It's the individual ethics commissioners that offers
Yeah, right.
action, not the commission as a whole.
And
But it's both.
Both.
And just so everybody that's watching or here, based on your experience or direction, you think that that decision will be made on the 22nd, or can that carry forward for days or weeks, months? What?
I don't know.
I won't.
Yeah,
I'm
I don't
not
know.
trying to put you on the spot to speculate. I just didn't know if that was a one and done.
That's it. That's the hearing. There was question today between counsel and the judge about whether he could make a ruling on the record and on the pleadings themselves and not have oral argument. Counsel for Alderman Hanson wanted oral argument, and so that will happen on the 22nd. I do think the judge will rule either that day or shortly thereafter.
And so just for everybody that's keeping up at home, September the 22nd is a Friday, and as Alderman Berger has made her motion, we will be convening on Tuesday the 26th.
That's right. And obviously, you have had several opportunities and situations where a matter is before you after a deferral and you need to defer it again. I mean, just because you get it to the 26th doesn't mean that you have to make a decision on that day. You can obviously make a decision to defer it later.
Of course.
Okay, you got the motion. You ready to vote?
And just to be clear, our vote to censure or not censure is not contingent on any. We can't again. Whatever happens in these legal proceedings is really. I mean, we can censure someone tomorrow. I mean, there's no tie to the legal proceeding and our vote. There's no requirement that we censure at a certain period of time.
So what's before you is the recommendation of the Ethics Commission. And what we will eventually get before you is a findings of fact and conclusions of law, so you know how they got there. And that is what's before you. Now, whether or not you want to have your own agenda item for something, a different kind of matter or a different type of censure, you're right. I mean, if you called me and said, I would like to add a censure against Alderman X on the next agenda, I want to have a discussion about that, we would add that. But it needs to be based on your knowledge and your information, not an information from a committee coming up to you recommending. But if you have your own information, you can make your own decision. Again, the charter was created in the 70s with censure abilities. The Ethics Commission was created in 2007. You have been able to censure since you've been a body.
Ready to vote? Vice Mayor?
No.
Alderman Blanton?
Yes.
Alderman Hanson?
Abstain.
Alderman Peterson.
No.
Alderman Berger.
Yes.
Alderman Brown. Abstain. Alderman Potts.
Yes.
Alderman Baggett.
Yes.
The motion passes to defer to September 26, 4-2 with 2 abstaining. Next is item 6 is resolution 2023-59, a resolution authorizing the use of competitive seal proposed procurement methods for choosing the service provider for debt collection services for a term of award of the Revenue Management Division and Citizens Administration Department. Is there a motion?
Move for approval.
Second.
We'll put motion second. Any discussion? Ready to vote? Vice Mayor?
Yes.
Alderman Blanton?
Yes.
Alderman Hanson?
Yes.
Alderman Peterson?
Yes.
Alderman Berger?
Yes.
Alderman Brown?
I jumped the
Alderman
gun.
Potts?
Yes.
And Alderman Baggett.
Yes.
Passes unanimously. Item number 7 is ordinance 2022-18, an ordinance to amend the City of Franklin Municipal Code Title 20, Chapter 2, Alarm Systems, Burglary, Hold-Up, Panic, and to amend Appendix A, Chapter 20, Miscellaneous. Is there a motion?
Move to approve.
Second.
Appropriate motion second. Any discussion? Ready to vote? Vice Mayor?
Yes.
Alderman Blanton?
Yes.
Alderman Hanson?
Yes.
Alderman Peterson?
Yes.
Alderman Berger?
Yes.
Alderman Brown?
Yes.
Alderman Potts?
Yes.
Alderman Baggett?
Yes.
Passes unanimously. We'll now go to item number 8, procurement award to Illuminate of Brentwood, Tennessee, in the total amount of $52,999.99 for one artificial tower tree for the Maintenance Division of the Streets Department. Is there a motion?
Move for approval. Merry
Second.
Christmas.
Was there a second by Alderman Peterson? Thank you. Any discussion? You ready to vote? Alderman Vice Mayor Barnhill?
Yes.
Alderman Blanton?
Yes.
Alderman Hanson?
Yes.
Alderman Peterson?
Yes.
Alderman Berger?
Yes.
Alderman Brown?
Yes.
Alderman Potts?
Ho, ho, ho.
And Alderman Baggett.
That was a yes. right?
Okay.
Yes.
Yes, ho, 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 yes.
Next is consideration of appointment of Dana Coase, Mary McGowan, who I see is here, and Paige Parham to the Development Services Advisory Commission. These three ladies, total of 50 years combined experience in the construction and development industry. Dana Coase has served as chair of our Sustainability Commission in the past, and then prior to her current job, she had 22 years of commercial and industrial real estate work as a contractor, developer, and so on. Mary McGowan, you may have seen her before. She works for Kimberly Horn. She comes highly recommended by a number of her associates that she works with, and I think you already know some of her work. And lastly, Paige Parham, you may not know, but Paige Parham has 20 years' experience in the construction industry and currently works for Amazon as their construction business manager. And so I can tell you all of her duties there, but we'll just ask for a motion to approve.
Move for approval.
Second.
Appropriate motion second.
I've got, so we didn't get all the resumes in here, or we didn't get all the information this time. I think,
What would you like? And I'll provide.
well, no, I'm not contesting, but I
I
did,
know.
Just for, to know beforehand, and this is your appointment, I would like to
Yep.
hopefully have,
Just that tidbit.
excuse me?
I was gonna say, are you saying just like what he just said tonight? About that
Yeah,
or more?
And I would like to, make sure we get some more small construction representation on the board as well. And I just asked the mayor to take that in advisement for the future.
Absolutely. I don't.
And I know
remember-
you take this very seriously. I know that, and I think we have very fantastic applicants or nominations, but in the future.
Would you like to see the entire resume?
No.
Or just a brief summary of? I'm willing to provide whatever you want.
I know you are.
I think probably we had maybe, just off the top of my head, about a dozen people, and I probably interviewed maybe 6 or 7 out of that group.
This is your prerogative to nominate, for sure, and so trust it, but that would, as I was going through, that would be nice. And then just the small construction aspect in the future. Thank you.
And I'll keep an eye on that.
Thank
So,
you.
Ready to vote? Vice Mayor?
Yes.
Alderman Blanton.
Yes.
Alderman Hanson.
Yes.
Alderman Peterson.
Yes.
Alderman Berger.
Yes.
Alderman Brown.
Yes.
Alderman Potts.
Yes.
Alderman Baggett.
Yes.
Passes unanimously. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved. Second.
All in favor, say aye.
That was a good point.
Congratulations, Mary.